what's happening? Well, I know it's been a while since I've done a vlog on my YouTube channel, but I thought, well, you know what, we need to start that back up again. And things have just been really hectic recently. I've been working a lot at the radio station, and we've had a lot of things going on there. As many of you know who are friends with me on Facebook, my longtime morning show partner, Don Parker, passed away just about 2 months ago now. And so I've been kind of running the show by myself there, and things are starting to get back to some normalcy at the radio station. So now I can actually start devoting a little bit more time to my YouTube channel and start doing more vlogs for you guys and other things. So that's what I want to do. And if you do have a question or a comment or an idea you'd like me to talk about, please feel free to drop me an email, Stacey, S-T-A-C-E-Y, at sndjpensacola.com, and I'll be glad to record a video on that. As you know, this past weekend, actually last weekend, August 1st, was 18 years I've been a mobile DJ. That's when I started SNDJ Entertainment. It's hard to believe that it's been 18 years. Started August 1st, 2003. And of course, in all that time, I've seen a lot, and I'd like to share some of that stuff with you guys. So we're going to start doing more vlogs, and we're going to be getting into more things like that as we move along. So like I said, I've got more time now that I can start devoting to that. And if you have a question or comment, just feel free to drop me an email, and I'll be glad to address that in a future video. Now, what I like to do in this particular video is kind of go over some questions that I received. Now, we did a question and answer session. I did a live question and answer session on Zoom back at the 1st of July. And for some reason, that video just did not record. I don't know why it didn't record, but we really had a great time with that. I was hoping to be able to have that posted, but unfortunately it wasn't. So I received some email, questions, and also we had some people who joined in that day and asked questions too. So what I decided to do was I thought, well, people say that I've got a memory like an elephant, that I can remember anything. So I just remembered some of the questions that we asked. I just wanted to go ahead and just address those today in this particular video. Now, these are questions from DJs as well as future clients, people asking from the client's point of view as well. So I think you're probably going to get a lot out of this if you're interested in the mobile DJ business, whether you're a client looking for a DJ, or maybe you're somebody wanting to start out in mobile DJing. And like I said, if you have a question or anything like that, you can always drop me an email. But these are some of the questions that we had during that Zoom conference call that we did back at the 1st of July, which really had a lot of great information. I wish it would have recorded. I really do, but that's okay. That's the good thing. At least I can go back and remember some of the questions and go ahead and answer those for you. So let's go ahead and get started with that now, okay? Our first question is, it says, I watched your wedding consultation video, and can you explain a little more in detail how you plan and direct a wedding reception? And yeah, that is a very, very good question. And basically, the gist of it is like this. Pretty much what happens is a bride will contact us through our website, or maybe word of mouth, or maybe they met us at a bridal show or something like that. And then what we typically do is we call them up or email them. We email them an information packet first. It's got all the information there, about our services and things like that. And if they want to schedule a consultation, we can do that. Now, lately we've been doing a lot of Zoom consultations because of the COVID situation, but normally we'd meet at Starbucks, and I've got a notebook that I'd go over with them and show them the outline of a typical wedding reception, just show them different things about our services, and we'll go over our wedding packages and some sample planners of past weddings and things like that. Then when they decide that they want to go ahead and book, we'd go ahead and sign the contract and collect their retainer fee, which is 1/3 of their balance. And then from that point on, I would send them a copy of our reception planning guide, which is a guide that I personally put together. It contains an outline and just some other important information there to really help the planning process a lot easier for our clients. And as I tell all my brides and grooms that I work with over the years, that, the most important thing is I want to make sure that you guys have fun. I mean, I want the entire process to be fun, including the planning process. So we make that planning guide easy for you to understand and the whole planning process. We also give them a copy of the ceremony information form as well as the reception information form, which are the forms we will use to put their planners together. And then what we'll do then, you can also email those back to me whenever you're finished filling those out. But I talk to my clients, I keep in touch with them regularly, and I tell my clients they can call me anytime if they have a question or anything like that. But we make sure that we handle the planning process like that. Now, about a month or so before their wedding, if they want to go ahead and have another consultation, we'll do that. But a lot of times brides and grooms will just fill out the information, and I'll just go ahead and type everything up on a written planner for them with all their information there. And then I send it back to the bride and groom once I've typed that up. And that that way the bride and groom can look it over, make sure that everything is how they like it, and make sure that everything's proper. Like make sure I've spelled the names right, and we got everybody there, the order of everybody right, and make sure that their first dance song's right and everything else. And if the bride needs to make any changes, we can make changes at that point. Now, once she gives me her final approval that everything is the way that she wants it, I'll then send it out to her other vendors, usually her photographer. If she has a wedding coordinator, I'll send it out to them, and then also their caterer or videographer, whoever she wants me to send it out to, I'll send it out to them, and I just send them a nice email, just introducing myself, saying, hey, I'm the DJ for George and Clarice's wedding reception coming up this Saturday. Usually about a week before the wedding, I'll do that, and I give them a copy of the itinerary and let them, so everybody knows what we're going to do, so that they know what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. So that's basically, just a quick rundown of how the planning process works. Now, the directing part. How does that work? Well, during the reception, I'll be the person that will be in charge of the reception as far as the entertainment is concerned. And basically what I do is, we have everything planned out on the itinerary, and I will come to you, the bride and groom, and say, okay, you guys want to do your cake cutting next or whatever. Before we announce any major events, I will always come and check with you, and then I'll check with your other vendors, like your photographer, your wedding coordinator, whoever, you want me to check in with. I'll make sure that they know what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. And then I'll usually get on the microphone and let your guests know ahead of time. Like, for instance, let's say dinner's getting ready to conclude. I may come up to you at the end of dinner and say, okay, it looks like most people have finished eating. Do you want to do your toast and your cake cutting in about 10 minutes? And if the bride says yes, then what I'll do is I'll normally say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let your photographer know, and I'll go let the photographer know, hey, here's a heads up, we're going to be doing the toast and the cake cutting in about 10 minutes. And that way, if the photographer needs to go and change out a battery or change out a cartridge or something like that, they can do that. The last thing we want to do is catch anybody off guard. So that's why I always make sure before I announce anything, I make sure I personally check with the bride and groom and check with the other vendors before we announce any major events. That's how we basically direct everything. And we make sure that everybody knows what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. I'll also get on the microphone at that point too and let your guests know that we're going to be doing the toast and the cake cutting in about 10 minutes, so that way they can get their drinks ready and that kind of thing. And then at the end of that 10 minutes, I'll check back with you again just to make sure you're ready. And again, we don't announce anything or do any major announcements, announcing any events until I personally check with the bride and groom and the other vendors. So that's basically how that works when it comes to becoming your reception entertainment director. But we'll do that. We'll do another video on that later and go into more detail on that. Okay, how did you get started as a mobile DJ, and how long have you been in business? And it's really interesting how I got started as a mobile DJ. Of course, many people in Pensacola know me from the radio, and that's really where I got started as far as becoming a DJ. I was on the radio here in Pensacola at Pensacola's #1 radio station, 102.7 WXBM. And in the late 90s, I started having a lot of my listeners call me up and say, hey, do you do weddings? Do you do parties? Do you do school dances? And I said, no, I just never really got into that. But I was on the radio, and I was doing pretty good on the radio. In 1998, my older sister got married down in Panama City, Florida. And we were sitting at the reception, and I was sitting there at the table with my mom, and we were watching what the DJ did. And my mom looked at me, and she said, you know what, I think you'd be good at what he does. I really do think you'd be good at that. You're already on the radio. Why wouldn't you want to start your own mobile DJ business? And I thought, you know what, that actually sounds like a pretty good idea. So at the end of the reception, I went up and talked to the DJ as he was packing up that night. And told him who I was, told him I was on the radio, and I was possibly interested in becoming a mobile DJ. And we talked for a little bit. He told me what he does. He gave me his phone number, and he said, look, anytime you want to get started, let me know. And so that's kind of where the ball started rolling. And it took me a few years before I actually started my mobile DJ business. I actually did not start until August 1st, 2003. That's when we officially went into business. But it was really around 2002 that I really got serious about it. I mean, I'd been thinking about it off and on up until that point. But around 2002, I decided it was time to go ahead and start my mobile DJ business. That's what I did. And, it was really, I took a year between 2002 and 2003 to start gathering equipment and, getting music and learning things. And I was, really learning the ropes as far as that goes. And for my first year, I started out doing mainly parties and school dances between 2003 and 2004, and then ventured into weddings. And now, weddings are probably about 95% of what I do. And it's been a lot of fun over the last 18 years. So, yeah, we still do parties and school dances. And I'd have to say weddings are probably what makes up most of my business, and it's just been a joy. I mean, it's been great the last 18 years, and it's a lot of fun, and this is something I'm glad I really pursued. And I have to say, my mom passed away back in 2012, but I have to give her a lot of credit, because she was one that really inspired me to become a mobile DJ. You know, she thought that I'd be really good at this, and well, she was right. I have a lot of people telling me that I was really good at this. Of course, now we got the YouTube channel, and I go to Las Vegas. I've met a lot of nice people in Las Vegas. Got a lot of DJ brothers and sisters around the world, and it's just a great thing. It's just a great business to be in. Okay, our next question. I would like to become a mobile DJ. Are you currently hiring? If not, what advice can you give me to get started? Well, right now, as of today, August 9th, 2021, SNDJ Entertainment is not hiring right now. But, you know, that's not to say that we won't be in the future. I mean, I'm actually considering possibly hiring help in the near future, you know, because I think it might be good to expand the business, and I've really thought about that. That is something I'm definitely considering. And if you'd like to be considered for a position at SNDJ Entertainment, if and when we do start hiring, you can always drop me an email, Stacey, S-T-A-C-E-Y, at sndjpensacola.com, and I'll definitely consider you for that, and we could talk more about that in the future. But you know, basically what I can just explain to you what would happen if I was hiring. I would probably start you out as a roadie first. You know, you'd come along with me and help out by setting up the equipment and just learning the basics. That's really what it would all boil down to there. And then after that, you know, if you know, I felt comfortable, I would let you, you know, maybe start making some announcements on the microphone, and then, you know, coming along with you to let you do some events like that, and probably would start you out doing like parties and school dances. I never would start anybody out doing weddings, because weddings just have to be absolutely perfect. Now that's another video for another day, but usually would start you out doing parties and school dances for your first solo. And then, you know, once I felt comfortable, once you've gone through proper training, we would go ahead and let you start doing weddings. But like I said, weddings have to be perfect. I always compare weddings to like the space shuttle landing. You know, the space shuttle was a glider, so that means if they overshot the runway or something like that, they couldn't just turn around and, you know, come back in for another approach. They had to get it right the first time. And that's really the way it is with weddings. They have to be perfect, and they have to be right every single time. So it does take a lot of training when it does come to weddings. But like I said, that's another video, and we'll talk about that later. But if you are wanting to get started in the mobile DJ business, here's what I'd recommend. I'd recommend you calling a bunch of mobile DJ businesses in your area and just tell them, hey, I'd like to start out, you know, in the mobile DJ business. Can you guys help me out? And a lot of times they will train you. So just tell them, you know, you'd like to come and help out, maybe offer to go and help them set up equipment or whatever the situation may be. And a lot of them would be glad to help have you come help them out. I mean, I know for me, that's what I would love to have, is somebody come help me set up the equipment, because sometimes that can get, you know, tiring. And that's why I'm thinking about maybe possibly, you know, hiring somebody to do that. So yeah, you know, sometimes that cut down on what we have to do as well. So they may, you know, very well help you with that. And that's what I would do to get my foot in the door. What I would not do, though, is go and buy a bunch of equipment and, you know, start advertising and saying, okay, I'm ready to do weddings, without the proper training, because, you know, you can ruin your reputation real quick like that. Like I said, weddings take a lot of training, and really mobile DJing takes a lot of training as well. I mean, it looks easy, I know, from the outside, but it's really not. It does take a lot of training, and anybody who's been in the business long enough will tell you that you really have to know what you're doing in order to get into this business. Okay, our next question. Since you serve as my entertainment planner director, does that mean I will not have to have a wedding coordinator for my reception? And yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, if you do have a wedding coordinator, that's wonderful. But what we always tell our brides and grooms is, if you do have a wedding coordinator, that basically, you know, it'll be fine for them to go ahead and plan a timeline and everything else all the way up through and including the ceremony. But when it comes to the reception, we'll actually be handling that. Now, as far as any duties that your wedding coordinator would need for the reception, as far as we're concerned, you know, basically they would just need to make sure that the room's set up, flowers are set, you know, the tables are set up and that kind of thing, and to make sure that we have a table set up and a power outlet close by. And that's really it. I mean, other than that, we don't really, you know, require any assistance from your wedding coordinator. And as a matter of fact, I even tell my brides and grooms to invite their wedding coordinator to sit back and relax after the ceremony, because, you know, they can sit back and enjoy themselves for the reception with the bride and all of her guests. And, you know, I realize a lot of brides have probably created a unique relationship with their wedding coordinators, or a close relationship, I should say. And so they're, you know, they've really, you know, consider that part of a reward. You know what I'm saying? As for the wedding coordinators, because they actually get to sit back and relax and enjoy the reception along with your guests. And a lot of wedding coordinators I have worked with love that. I mean, they've told me, they said, you know what, we've worked with DJs before where we're having to walk around telling the DJ what to do. Well, that's not the case with SNDJ Entertainment. So no, it will not be necessary for your wedding coordinator to set up a timeline or a schedule of events or anything for the reception, we handle that, and we'll give them a copy of it if they'd like to have a copy of it. But as far as assisting us or doing anything like that, no, that we would not need a wedding coordinator for that for the reception, since that's part of the duties that we handle as far as your wedding package and planning and directing the reception. The entertainment portion of the reception is included in every wedding package that we offer, so it won't be necessary. Okay, how has the pandemic affected your business? Well, it has affected our business. It's not affected us here in Pensacola as much as it has in other parts of the country. I know DJs that still haven't done a wedding since March of last year, and some that have done very few. But for us, I mean, we still had a few brides and grooms that booked last year, and some of them that kept their weddings, and some of them that rescheduled. And they just had smaller events, was what it was, and so that's what we did. And basically, we've been taking the necessary precautions during the pandemic. We've been asking people to text us their request at the event. I'll give them my cell phone number, and then they could text their request. And that's how we've been doing that, And then, like for dinner, for example, we've been dismissing one table at a time, so we don't have a whole lot of people up there at the buffet line, and things like that. So we've been doing little things. It's whatever the bride and groom have been asking us to do, but a lot of venues have been asking us to do that as well. But yeah, we've been taking the necessary protocols for COVID-19, but our business really hasn't been, affected too much. But it still has been affected, of course. Okay, our next question. Well, how long does it take you to set up and break down your equipment? And that's a very good question. That really depends on the event. That depends on the package. So a lot of things really go into play when it comes to that. But I could just give you just some basic general average information on that. If we've got a wedding, let's say that's just a basic setup, we're only doing like the reception, we could probably be set up and ready to go within 2 hours or so. But now if we've got a reception where we're having set up like uplighting and the monogram, and let's say we got to set up 2 sound systems, like let's say there's one system we need to set up inside for the ceremony, or for the reception rather, and then one outside for the ceremony, then that could take up probably about 2.5, maybe 3 hours that we like to take to set up. Now it may not take a full 3 hours for us to set up, but what we like to do is I like to get there early and take our time getting set up. And I usually like to sit back and drink some water or something like that, just kind of cool off a little bit before the ceremony begins. And we try to have the music started at least 30 minutes before the ceremony. Like let's say, for example, if your ceremony is going to begin at 6 o'clock in the evening, then we want to have everything set up and ready to go and dressed to be fully ready to go by 5:30. So that's our goal. That's what we like to do. So anywhere between 2 and 3 hours is what it takes for us to set up. And then for breakdown time, again, it just depends on the package. If we have a lot of uplighting we have to take down, it could take up to 90 minutes or so to break down. But if it's a smaller sound system or something like that, or a smaller setup, then we could probably be broken down and unloaded within an hour or so. So really it just depends, and it all depends on the venue too, depending on what kind of loadout we have. If we have a long loadout, then that can also affect it as well. So yeah, really, but I would say on average anywhere between 2 and 3 hours to set up, and anywhere between 60 and 90 minutes to break down at the end of the night. Okay, our next question. What kind of training have you received to become a mobile DJ? And that's a very good question. I mean, when I first started out in mobile DJing, I'd have to say that probably my best experience was probably just hands-on experience learning. But I'd have to say my radio career really helped jumpstart my career as far as becoming a mobile DJ, because I felt like I took it one step further when I became a mobile DJ, and that really helped me out. And it also helped me to get events because people already knew me from the radio. It's not like I was somebody who wasn't known around town or anything like that. So when I started my mobile DJ business, I started getting a lot of events because people did recognize me on the radio, because I did work at Pensacola's #1 radio station. So that actually helped out a lot. But another thing that I can recommend as far as what's helped me out is going to the mobile DJ conventions. And the Mobile Beat convention in Las Vegas was one that I've attended every year up until the pandemic. And I started in 2009 and went every single year up until the pandemic hit. And of course, the Mobile Beat has now been sold, and it's now called the Mobile Entertainment Expo. And they're going to be having it this upcoming February, 6 months from now, in Las Vegas. And I highly recommend going to that. And I mean, I do have to give a shout out to Ryan Berger and Jake Feldman and all the other guys at Mobile Beat who put on the show, because I've learned so much from all the seminars and networking and meeting other DJs from around the country. And we get to go and attend seminars, learning how to plan weddings, and learning the ropes and learning a lot of things. I mean, so that's really helped me out as well. So I could consider that my continuing education every year by going to Las Vegas. So yeah, attend a trade show. That's what I recommend doing. One of these DJ conferences like the DJ Expo in Atlantic City, which is happening right now, and the Mobile Entertainment Expo, and there are a lot of others, so make sure you check that out. And that's where I've gotten a lot of my training from. But you can learn so much and network with other DJs and reach out to other DJs around the world. We learn so much from each other just by sitting and hanging out and talking when we were in Las Vegas. So yeah, that's where I basically get a lot of my training from, and I just put all that into motion, and it's helped my business out a lot. Okay, how did you get started in radio? Well, okay, that's a pretty interesting story all in itself. I actually got started in radio because it was a dream of mine ever since I was 5 years old. And I can remember telling my best friend we were sitting in the sandbox, and when I grew up I was going to be on the radio. And that's where I headed. I mean, when I got into high school, we didn't have a campus radio station, but we did have a TV station, and we produced our own morning announcements on TV. And I got to learn the roots of that, by doing news and stuff, the morning news on the TV station there that we had. It was a closed circuit TV station that went all over campus of the high school. And I learned a little bit of broadcasting from that. But then when I got into college in Panama City, Florida, we had a campus radio station there, and I took a class, and part of our grade was to go on the air once they taught us how to do everything. But they taught us everything, the basics from how to talk on the microphone to everything, and it just worked out well. And then we got to get on the campus radio station, little small AM radio station, and it was fun. I mean, I loved doing that. And part of our grade was to produce a show every week. And that's what I did. So that's how I got into radio. And then when I moved to Pensacola, I just started applying to every radio station that I could until finally I got a call to go to one. And I started out as a mascot for a local radio station. And basically I dressed up as a gator and went out when they did remotes and things like that. And then eventually I ended up going on the air. And we had 3 radio stations there, and that's kind of where it started. So that's how I got started in radio, and just I just worked it from there. So that's I kind of consider myself I don't want to say lucky, because I think people who win the lottery is lucky, but I think I made some good choices, and I think that's what helped me out. But that's actually how I got started in radio, and it's been a very fun career. And I started in radio back in 1994. So yeah, it's been quite a number of years I've been in radio. Well, in your wedding consultation video, you say you don't recommend a timeline. Can you explain why this is? I thought a wedding reception is supposed to be organized so all of the other vendors will know what's going to happen. I recently talked to my photographer, and they say they like knowing what time everything is going to happen because it helps them out. Well, yeah, now this will be really for another video, but the gist of that is some things I already covered earlier in this video. But yeah, we definitely don't recommend setting up a strict timeline for your reception. Like trying to say, okay, the cake cutting is going to be at this time, the father bride dance this time, the bride and groom's first dance this time. You know why? Because you're not going to stay on time anyway. And really, the reception is supposed to be fun. You want it to be laid back. You don't want to be staying on a strict time schedule, trying to stay on time, because if you do, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. And I want my brides and grooms, concentrating on having fun at their reception, not trying to stay on time. Now, as far as the photographers or anybody's concerned, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier. That with us, they're not going to have to worry about setting up a strict time schedule or anything like that, because, like I said before, we're not going to announce any major events or do any major events until I personally check with the bride and groom and the photographer to make sure everybody's ready. So really, there's just no need to have a time schedule or anything like that, because, like I said, we're not going to announce or do anything until I check with the bride and groom and the photographer to make sure everybody's ready before we even do it. So we'll give the bride and groom and the photographer plenty of time, plenty of notice, before anything happens. So like I said, it's just really not necessary. But that's another video, and we can talk more about that in depth if you'd like to in another video. Or if you'd like to schedule a consultation, we can talk more about that as well. And I can go over more information about that with you at that time. I'm really wanting more of a party after my wedding ceremony, so I won't be requiring anything like a first dance, wedding party intros, or any of the other things normally done at weddings. Do you have any suggestions for me or any other packages that you can offer? And yeah, that's a very good question. I realize that this day and age, a lot of people, are maybe on their second or third marriage, or maybe they just don't want all the traditional wedding reception events. Maybe they just want a party after their ceremony. And yes, you can absolutely do that. You can choose one of our party packages instead of a wedding reception, where we don't do a first dance or any of this traditional wedding reception events. You would get the same service that we would offer to our party clients. So if you wanted nothing but just like a dance party right after the ceremony, then yeah, you can definitely do that. You can choose a party package, and of course there wouldn't be as much cost into that as there would be for a wedding reception, because we wouldn't have to do a whole lot of planning with that. So yeah, you can get the same service we'd give for our party clients. Absolutely. If you'd like to find out more information about that, please feel free to reach out and give me a call or send me an email, and I'll be glad to tell you more about that. But we absolutely do offer that. Okay, this final question is, how much can I expect to pay for a professional DJ for my event? And really, that depends on where you are. Now, if you're living in somewhere else, like around the world or another part of the country, what I'm about to tell you is what basically a DJ will cost here in the Pensacola, Florida area. Now, keep in mind wherever you are that it may cost more, it may cost less. I don't really know. It just depends on your market. But I can just tell you what it costs here in Pensacola in this area, and you're going to pay around $1,000 at least for a professional wedding DJ for your wedding. And parties and school dances anywhere between $500 and $1,000, I would say, just depending on the service. So it just depends on what you're looking for, and you know, so that's really about a good average. I would say plan to spend at least around $1,000 for on average for a professional wedding service in this area. Now, there are going to be some DJs will be well below that, you know, but like I said, that's for professional DJs. You probably should expect to pay around $1,000. But again, that's another video for another day that we could talk more about that. We'll talk about hiring a DJ in another video and kind of give you some pointers on that. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for watching this video. And again, if you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like to schedule a free consultation, my information is right there on the screen. So feel free to give us a call at SNDJ Entertainment. We'll be glad to help you out. And feel free to shoot me an email too if you have a question. I'll be glad to help you out as well. And always like and share and subscribe to these videos. We certainly do appreciate you doing that. And that's the way you can help us out and help this channel grow even more. So once again, my name is Stacy Knowles, Entertainment Director of SNDJ Entertainment at Pensacola, Florida. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Practice and enjoy.